Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I got to tell you, folks, we're going to be talking with one of my favorite people on this entire planet. I don't think I've ever said that on the program. We just
no, I'm blushing.
We just talked for 45 minutes almost, before we even turned the record button on. I've had this gentleman on before 4 years ago. What the heck? I know. So please join me in welcoming back Mitchell Levy to our program. Mitchell, how in the heck are you?
Deb, I from the first minute we got online, I'm like, it feels like old friends, and I couldn't believe it was 4 years.
I know.
Crazy.
I know. Yeah. Well, we kind of had COVID.
COVID time took sort of a lapse. It's like we went into an airplane that disappeared for a couple of years.
Yes, and just poof. And part of that, though, kind of leads me to what we're going to be talking about, because I think people got lost during that time. They decided they needed more during that time from their professional life. I mean, all sorts of things. So we're going to have a great conversation. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this. So global credibility expert Mitchell Levy is a 2 times TEDx speaker, including the 28th most popular in 2021. He's an international best-selling author of over 60 books, a certified stakeholder centered coach, and an executive coach at Marshall Goldsmith's 100 Coaches. As an executive coach, Mitchell is a sounding board, a thinking partner, and someone who can hold the mirror to generate insights for personal change. This impact has earned him a place among the world's top 200 leadership voices by LeadersHum. He was number 16 in 2023, and as the number 1 thought leader in ecosystems and top 100 thought leader overall by Thinkers 360. He's an accomplished entrepreneur who has created 20 businesses in Silicon Valley, including 4 publishing companies that have published over 750 books. He's provided strategic consulting to hundreds of companies and has been the chairman of the board of a NASDAQ-listed company. His most recent book, anyhow, I think it's his most recent book, is Credibility Nation, for professionals who want to be seen as credible. So we're going to learn more about what the heck that means. So again, Mitchell, welcome.
It is so good to be here. And I want to meet that guy. That's a great bio.
I know. It's funny. We were chatting before the program about that little thing called Chat GPT. I had it rewrite my bio, and I was like, whoa. Right? So, you've been up to an awful lot in the last 4 years. Tell us just briefly a little bit about what's been going on in your world.
It was between 2019 and 2020 that I went on a Napoleon Hill journey.
Okay.
So I interviewed 500 thought leaders on credibility. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you were one of them. So thank you for that. And what was interesting is as an expert in now credibility, and there are 10 values of credibility and an updated definition I came up with. As an expert in credibility, I thought, hey, I need to sell credibility. Mm-hmm. Well, my wife said something to me, which I wanted to prove her wrong. By the way, guys.
Don't do that. No.
Yeah, don't do that. And she said to me, honey, do you realize that all business people consider themselves credible?
Right.
And the answer is, it's kind of like selling ice cream to Eskimos. Mm-hmm. Some people want it, and some people like, I already got it. I don't need it. See how cold it is. I don't need it. Right. So what happened about a year ago is, and by the way, I've done good so far, but good is not great, right? In terms of the credibility thing. I need great. The world humans need us to be more credible. The TEDx that I did was, we're losing our humanity, and I'm tired of watching it happen. And if we did nothing more than be more credible to each other, we'll be more humane to each other. Okay. So that's why I need to do great, not just good. So about a year ago, I was talking with one of my friends, and we were looking at business models. And all of a sudden I realized what I always did immediately after talking to somebody about being credible, I need to do first. So when somebody would say, hey, Mitchell, let's talk about credibility, the first thing I'd ask them is about their clarity. So what I realized is clarity needed to come at the top, and all of a sudden everything fell into place. Once I got clarity on my clarity.
Right. You had clarity.
I created 5 new products. We created a clarity certification program. And now I have, including the work I've done from the start of the interviews, I've actually helped over 1,000 companies and individuals articulate with clarity who they are. Now, let's be clear on what this is, because my language has become much more fine-tuned as I move forward. What I do is I help people understand, it's called a CPOP. That's the acronym. It stands for Customer Point of Possibilities. And this is the thing that's new. It is where they are executing on their purpose today.
Okay.
Right? See, here's the thing. We all, 90% of us don't know, 90% of people are born, live, and die without ever knowing their purpose.
Right. They just kind of muddle along.
It's muddle along. And 98% of people don't have clarity. Now, the thing is, it's kind of like writing that as a publisher who's published 750 books. It's kind of like writing that book, right?
Right.
And everyone wants to write that book. In the past, we used to call it the great American novel. That doesn't work overseas, but it works at least in the US. And when somebody comes to me and says, Mitchell, here's a book, is it like that book? This is, and they spend all this time, and they spend, some cases, their entire life writing that book, and they never publish.
Right.
Right. So what I will say is, well, don't write that book. Or if you do, make sure that's a hobby. Write the book you could use today that will open up the doors to get you more clients. Right. That's always been my practice. So don't worry about that purpose. Right. If you're super religious, your purpose is to serve God.
Right.
Right? So that one's already done. My next statement is, how are you executing on that purpose today? That's what a CPOP is. The CPOP represents, in less than 10 words, who you are serving, and either their pain point or their pleasure point that they perceive as having. So, Deb, when you and I were talking a little bit about your new efforts, which
right. Yeah, we were catching up.
Not new to you. You had mentioned something like it took you 3 months to come up with the verbiage. So I was curious, A, why do you think it took so long, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure.
And would you potentially want to play, and we can grab a CPOP for that? So.
Perfect. Well, yeah, so it's tryingnottoDie.live. And people who have listened to the program have heard me refer to it. I think, so I did work with someone else on how to, because, it's kind of, the cobbler, his kids never have good shoes, right? And so I thought, okay, if I want this to be successful, I needed to hire, I paid people, and I paid good money, not, hey, can you give me a break type of thing, right? I paid good money to work with people. And so I did. I worked with this brand consultant. And I think part of the reason it took us 3 months was it just wasn't a dedicate my time completely to it priority. We did a lot of Zoom interviews, phone chats, things like that. So I think, part of it was he was getting his head around what I was trying to talk about in these small chunks of time. And more than likely, knowing Josh, he knew right from the start. But he was kind of helping me get through the process too, of figuring out what we were going to be doing. And was it going to be something serious and not a hobby, or something that I was only doing when the spirit moved, all of those things. But, it is taking more and more of my life, my energy, all of those things in a good way to do it. And so, yeah, I would love to fine tune things more.
I love that. And by the way, what I'll say is many people, when they're following their processes, they've been taught marketing cookie cutter
Right.
approaches.
You do
to
this,
solve
then
things,
this, then this, then this.
and we all follow that.
Mhm.
And so this approach is something different. What I think we should start with, because it's a lot easier to create a CPOP at a place where somebody's making money, right? Because then
Right.
it's less theoretical,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yep.
So let's focus on that and see if that fits into this other product you work out, which I
Right.
believe it does.
So ask away.
Okay. So just for those who are listening or watching, your CPOP is, if you're in this case, as a credible human, who do you serve and what is their pain point or pleasure point? So in this case, who, in terms of the business where you're making money and servicing, who's the customer?
My customer are high-end senior living communities.
Got it.
Yeah, I know the niche.
I have to tell you, it's a smaller percentage of people who can actually say the who immediately.
Right.
And have it be really so narrowly focused. So congrats on that.
Right. Most people are going to say, we work with anybody who needs marketing, blah, 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 blah. So
from their perspective, and I'll ask you both questions. What is the pain point that they perceive at the moment? Why do they need you? What are they solving, or what pain do they have?
We need to promote the communities. Show people these are fabulous places to live.
What's that mean, need to promote?
So they are, senior
budget,
living.
Right. We have unlimited.
Right. We have a budget. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I don't do this out of the goodness of my heart. They do pay me. And so so a little bit more background. I tell them the target market that we're trying to reach with what I do with them is somebody like me, my demographic. I have a parent or maybe a grandparent who is potentially needing assisted living or memory care or independent living. We have some independent living, but it's a wealthier demographic. This is not a nursing home or skilled facility. These are very much very active type of senior communities. And so what I do is I show through the posts that we do on social, primarily Facebook, that our residents are active, healthy, and happy. Oh boy, was that a challenge during COVID. But so of course the goal is no community is 100% capacity. They always have some empty space. And so we want to get people even on a wait list, but we are wanting to fill the community.
Got it. So the end goal, is that the end goal is increasing or decreasing capacity, increasing capacity,
increasing inventory, I think is how they put it. But also to show the family members that their loved ones are happy, healthy, active. We don't use stock photography. It is the true residence. So maybe they can't visit, maybe they're further away. They see pictures of mom, grandma, dad, Uncle Bob, whoever, and they're like, cool. They're playing games. They're at the wild animal park, all of these various things. And so they feel more confident that their loved ones are being properly cared for.
Oh, interesting. Sorry, I'm playing with an acronym while we're
okay.
Just a very interesting acronym, just so you can start thinking about it.
Okay. And I love that we're recording this because then I don't have to take notes.
Exactly. Well, interesting acronym is HA. because that's really what you're promoting is healthy, active, and happy.
I like
HA's
that.
kind of cool and easy to play with.
That is.
Right. So yeah, just something to think about. Okay. So the pleasure point is probably better than a pain point. I mean, the pain point is how do they choose from the myriad of crap out there?
Right. And the concern that they have that their loved one will not be properly cared for, or even the fact that they're needing
I was thinking about by the way, I love that you're thinking about the customer's customer. Right? Which is really, really cool. I was thinking about from the perspective of your customer, not your customer's customer, but that's really cool. From your customer's perspective, there's a bunch of junk to look at.
Right.
Right. And they need to communicate to their customer, which by the way, once again, people don't really speak this way. I'm going to say something very interesting.
Okay.
Now, is high end one word or two?
It's hyphenated.
Yeah, I know.
According to the AP style guide, it would be hyphenated.
Does that make it one word or two?
I think it's considered one word. Okay. Except if you're doing an acronym, it would be two. See, this is so confusing.
So that means, so for those who are listening, so we're going to come up with a 6-word CPOP for you.
Okay.
And what happens when you give a CPOP is you want the person on the other end. In this particular case, you would be talking to, high-end senior living communities, right? You want them, or someone who can refer that, you want them to go, tell me more. Or what do you mean by this?
Yes.
Right? It's not in and of itself the end result.
Right.
And so what happens is when you can give something that's, in your case, 6 words, I'll share it in a minute. When you give something that's 6 words and you're talking to either directly to your prospect or directly to the a referral partner, they're going to say, tell me more. If the third person who could hear you say your CPOP is somebody who doesn't care. Right?
And that's okay. They're just,
it doesn't mean they don't care about you. They just don't care about CPOP, right? So yours is way too simple. I put it in chat so you could see it as well. High-end senior living communities effectively promoting. It's like, it's just way too simple. The most important stuff is what you say afterwards.
Right. Yeah, because somebody's going to say, what do you mean effectively promoting?
Exactly. So do you want me to share your tell me more?
Of course.
Right. We'll make, by the way, so what you don't actually have to memorize this. The CPOP is we as humans resonate at a frequency. At the moment, this is the frequency that you're resonating at. High-end senior living communities effectively promoting. Right? It's perfect, right? So what's interesting is the tell me more, it's based on who you're talking to. But based on what you said, if somebody said, who are you? Well, I have a very niche market. There's a group of businesses that I'm very effective at. Pause. High-end senior living communities effectively promoting. Now, if you're in front of a group and you got 30 seconds or 60 seconds, let me tell you a little bit more.
Right.
There are so many social media people out there, and they are so, for lack of better terms, they're dubious at who they are and how they show up. They're going to tell you all these things, but not deliver. Here's what's interesting. The demographic we're marketing to is someone like me. The demographic we're marketing to is somebody who wants to produce HA. They want to actually see that their parents that they want to make sure are taken care of are healthy, active, and happy. And so with that in mind, I effectively do a series of social media marketing activities and other activities, other marketing, that make sure your prospects, the right audience, is getting to HA. Something like that.
Very cool. I love it. I love it. And for people who are listening or watching, put yourself in that. Now, how are you going to come up with this information?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things we were talking about up front was, if I'm now thinking about what you're doing, sort of your side hustle, trying not to die.live. It sure seems to me that the client that you have that has a number of different facilities, that they fit right in as being a sponsor.
Right.
Whether or not they're a paid sponsor or just in name. But by the way, I'm sure you can get them to do some pay stuff as well. And the thing that's fascinating is when you now think about the simplicity of those 6 words, when you go, by the way, when I look at the debcrier.com, it doesn't have those words on it, right?
It doesn't. Yikes.
And so, you're not alone. Because right now you're marketing the way you were taught to market, and the way you're putting out there is what you've been taught to. But if somebody stumbled upon your LinkedIn profile or stumbled upon your homepage or whatever pages you have out there, you want them to see this. You want them to see your CPOP and your acronym. Right. By the way, HA is very cool.
I love that. Yep.
And so it will, for those who are listening, the CPOP is something that I believe you would have been able to do it in less than 3 months when you and Josh did your thing.
Right.
And what happens is it acts as, and this is what the CPOP is. For the time being, it's your compass. It gives you a North Star.
Right. This is the direction you're going in.
And when things come your way, it's easy for you to make a decision, a yes-no decision, because when you say who you are verbally, and then you get decisions come your way that you based on your compass, and then you start demonstrating behavior that's based on your compass, guess what? You become credible.
Right.
Because people see you as having integrity. They see you as saying something and delivering and living the same way. And that helps you show up as a credible you.
Right. Well, now, Mitchell, here's where I get confused, because I have kind of these 2 things that I do aside from the podcast, right? So there is, the senior living through my business, but then trying not to die.live is separate. And that's where Josh helped me develop the messaging for it. And so that's where I get confused. It's kind of like, am I a split personality? Am I, I do this hour and I do this hour. How do we, really loop the 2 of them into one?
Well, let's come up with a CPOP for the trying not to die .live. Let's come up with a CPOP for that, and then see how they play with each other.
Okay.
So when you created that, or as you have seen it now, who is your audience?
Anyone on a cancer journey. Which is, see, that's a pretty big, right?
Got it.
And they don't have to have cancer. They can be supporting someone who has cancer.
Okay.
See? It's a little confusing.
Well, I'll have to make a decision when we pull together the pain point or pleasure point, whether or not we focus on people on a cancer journey, which not a bad people on a cancer journey. That's 5 words.
Right.
So it's possible that we might want to say something like cancer patients, or like something that's 2 words instead.
Right. To get a little bit more clarity in there.
Because that shouldn't, in your tell me more, you can now do the, by the way, even if you're just the supportive the support person, you can do that. So we'll say people on a cancer journey. It could be cancer. Now, when on the journey, is that the beginning typically, or is it
people have
the whole
come to
way
me
through?
at all points. I just got diagnosed. I hit my 5-year mark, all sorts of things.
Mm.
And I think maybe part of that is because even when a doctor has said you are cured, there's that shadow behind you, and you're always thinking it's coming back. And and I think that's and that is hard for people to understand. Now, the type of cancer I have is not considered curable. Now, do we ignore it? Yes. But it is one of those things where I think it is always kind of in the back of your mind. And so that's why I think we do have people who come to us at varying points along their journey.
Got it. That's why I love people on a cancer journey. Is amazing. And we'll see whether or not it's part of your tell me more, or
Right.
if we can put that into the
I see journey too as being positive, right?
Oh, I see journey as really positive, which by the way, I'm going to ask you for the pain point of your client base, but in this particular case, we'll probably go with pleasure, like we did for the senior care facilities.
Right.
But tell me about what is the pain point? What are they?
The pain point is they are scared. They are just absolutely terrified, even if it's a fairly minor diagnosis. Like one of the cancers that I have is called basal cell carcinoma, which that sounds horrible and awful. It's your basic skin cancer that does not spread. Redheads, people with freckles, things like that. But yeah, there's still cancer, and so you're always thinking there's something more. And so I think fear is probably the pain. And what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to my family, all of those various things. Is it going to hurt? Is it, am I going to get sick? Am I going to, all the things that come, am I going to lose my hair? How many surgeries? What does this mean?
Got it. Huh.
This is why I tell people on your first visits to your doctor, don't go by yourself, because there's so many things that are in your head. Right. You need somebody else there to help.
What's the pleasure?
That we are in charge. This is, cancer doesn't have us. We have cancer, and it's just a part of who we are. Whether it's 5 days, 50 years, it's just a part of us.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay. I'm going to take back what I said. Your CPOP is still the pain point. Your tell me more is the now, by the way, when I'm talking, for those who are listening or watching, when I'm talking with somebody, I will talk to them more and ask more questions so we could drill things out a little bit more. And,
right.
and
but Mitchell and I know each other a little bit.
We know each other, and she's amazing. And it's because I want, sometimes if people say things off the top of their head, I'll walk them into it. But because we're live, I just figured we're
gonna shorten the process a little bit.
So in this case, I have 5 words for you.
Okay. Just 5.
Really just 5, which is really interesting. I'll put it in chat again. Scared cancer patients addressing fear.
That is pain. That is definitely pain.
Unfortunately, that is what's going to draw people in.
Right.
Now, the first thing they should see is exactly what you just said. Okay. As a matter of fact, the first thing they should see is you got the C diagnosis. You or a family member, family member got the C diagnosis. Next thing, you got fear. Okay. You're now on a journey. And that journey means you have a choice of giving up or giving in, where you recognize that you are still an important human, where cancer just is one part of who you are. That's what we do at this group.
Right. Yeah. I had a discussion with some of my medical team last year when I hear them out in the hall say, the thyroid cancer's in room 4.
Oh my God. No.
That was me. And of course I go out, you know me. I'm like, excuse me. And I told him, I said, I understand HIPAA and all of that other stuff. I said, but I am not my diagnosis.
That goes, by the way, that goes on your website too.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. That is you just do 5 or 6 phrases before you then click on something and go to the next page. I am not my diagnosis. Actually, in this case, you would say you are not.
You are not your diagnosis. Yep. I think that needs to be a blog post.
Oh, that's a great blog. And that could be blog post that goes to a video. Right. So now we got 2 CPOPs for it. How's that? They both feel okay?
They do.
High-end senior living communities effectively promoting. So that is, now will you do that the rest of your life, or is that something?
No. I mean, I like it. I enjoy it. Will I do it forever? No. Things change. We move on, right?
Yeah. So, and then it's possible that we should be going through life with 3 CPOPs. We got 2 so far. We're going to go somewhere else, and you and I will come together for another time. What I would call the first CPOP is your transition CPOP.
Okay.
Right. That transition CPOP is it's what you do between going from where you are today to where you make money to where you really want to be. Since we don't know where you really want to be, and that one is high-end senior living communities effectively promoting. The one which is your passion CPOP is scared cancer patients addressing fear, and you'll do that the rest of your life. Right. And then there's probably another one that helps define who your real purpose is. But at the moment, what you do is you have a transition CPOP and a passion CPOP, and that's how they play together. Right. It's when you talk and communicate, you could say, and by the way, it's kind of fun to be able to say, and I have a passion. My passion is all about cancer. Right. People go, huh?
Right. They're like, what do you mean this is fun?
And that's how you capture people's attention and get them involved, because most everybody knows somebody who could be interested in what you're doing there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the sad things. The stats are now about 1 and 2. And when you come across somebody who doesn't know anybody, I'm like, oh my God, do you live in a cave? Even if it's just something fairly simple, or they don't know. I mean, they might be working with people who they just don't know that they're going through that.
Yeah. So Deb, what I do for those who are listening, and we'll put in chat, I do something once a month called a clarity session.
Cool.
And it is 90 minutes long. It's a group session. And what it will do is everyone walks out of the room with their CPOP.
Perfect.
Right. So I'll put that in chat. You can either, if you ended up at mitchelllevy.com, you can click on it there, or if you want to go directly, it's aha.pub, aha.pub/clarity session.
And we'll put this in the show notes.
But the easiest way is just going to mitchelllevy.com and then you can say, oh, I need a clarity session. And I put on the clarity session. You spend 90 minutes, you get a CPOP and you're unhappy, I'll give you your money back. Right? So.
Well, and I think this leads me into, I think so many people just don't even realize that they don't have clarity. Like you were saying before, we just are muddling merrily along, doing whatever it is that we're doing, and we're happy, right? Or maybe not so much, but we're just existing, maybe, as opposed to living.
How
or
cool
doing.
by the way, I love this conversation because it's got me thinking, How cool would it be if you could move from doing and existing to a place where you could say, hey, I'm executing on my purpose.
Right. Right.
Like that is such a like that is night and day in terms of what will happen inside your body in terms of how you feel.
Right. And you mentioned it before, that can be so many things. I mean, it might be your job. It might be volunteering. It might be, there's so many things that, and it doesn't also have to be the thing that we do forever. But maybe it's not writing the great American novel. Maybe it's, I'm going to, my great American novel is about volunteerism, but oh my gosh, I'm going to build Habitat for Humanity homes. And, and be the, whatever it is, I think I think sometimes we get too caught up and we have to fit in the box that we forget we don't need a box.
Right. Right. And what's really interesting, and we'll talk about yours, you don't necessarily need a financial sponsor today. Right. Given where you are. But it turns out that what you're doing for high-end senior living facilities, that's your financial sponsor.
Yes.
And what you're doing everywhere else, you get the pleasure of doing because you have a financial sponsor that allows you to have extra time and ability to do that.
Right.
So for those who are listening, there could be something that you can do that's part of your purpose that you do outside of whatever your quote unquote job is. And if you did nothing more than think about your job as your financial sponsor, that mental mind shift might change everything for you.
Right. Right. And it is, I think it's interesting now with like the different, I'm a baby boomer and we all make fun of millennials and I'm like, well, y'all raised them. So I don't understand why but I think we as baby boomers have figured out that there is more to life. Now we might still do the 9 to 5 and all of that, but we taught our kids there's more to life. And I think we really did see an awful lot of that during COVID with everybody, where they went, no, this is not the be all end all. Now, we understand people have bills to pay. We want to eat. Our mortgage company needs you to write a check that's actually going to be good, right? And so sometimes part of what we have to do is we have to work. We just have to work, at whatever. But then you have those passions, and it's interesting. Like right now we've got the Olympics that are going on, right? And I love that yes, it is kind of a job for them, but it is also a passion. I actually have a relative who is competing. And so, and she is and just sounds very strange. She is a professional pole vaulter. I'm not sure how you pay the bills with that, but she makes it work. But at some point, she's going to age out, right? Like Simone Biles, she's 27. We're not going to see her at an Olympic event again. But they will transition to a new passion. And I think the Olympics are just a really good example of people who are truly living those passions. But it is also work for them, and so and it really, really hard work. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that is just so cool about the Olympics is seeing that. I mean, like the young man who his job was on the men's gymnastics team to do that pommel horse routine and do it really well. I have loved that. I mean, that is the coolest thing in the world. He knows this is what I'm good at. Not that other stuff. I'm not going to try that. I'm not going to try this. This is what I'm good at. So maybe he is in a box, but he knows that box is where he needs to be right now.
Yeah. Well said. You know what? I can add so much to that. I'm going to say, but the end is you did such a good job. I'm just going to say, check mark. I think I will summarize. I think if you're listening, you owe it to yourself to be living a life that is fun,
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Living a life where, yeah, you got to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to do to do that? And what are you going to do that also is part of your passion? And you
Mm-hmm.
can do and should be doing
Mm-hmm.
both of those now.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And that comes back to clarity, right? Knowing what is the important things for you. And, for some, it is obviously their family, their faith, some things like that. But for others, it is helping others, and I don't know, maybe the people who make bazillions of dollars think that's, okay, if that's their purpose in life, that can be their purpose in life. But yeah, it really comes back to clarity.
Yeah, I'm going to say we have a lot of marketing cookie cutter
Mm-hmm.
myths in life. And one of them is more is always better.
Mm-hmm.
My company needs to make more
More
revenue.
money, more
Much,
clients, more.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'll say to you that that's a marketing cookie cutter
Mm-hmm.
approach. That's not,
Mm-hmm.
more isn't always
Right.
better.
Mm-hmm.
And it causes many people to lose lots,
Mm-hmm.
lose relationships with their
Right.
spouses, with their kids,
Mm-hmm.
lose the business because
Mm-hmm.
they overshot.
Mm-hmm.
It if you know your audience and
Mm-hmm.
you're serving your audience and
Mm-hmm.
getting paid appropriately serving
Mm-hmm.
your audience, you could look back and go, I'm happy.
Right. Right.
Right. And it's kind of that simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've had that discussion with, trying not to die.live. We have a private Facebook group. And right now we've got a little over 200 people who are part of it. And I have purposely grown it slowly, very organic. And it is a private group simply to keep out the people who are going to cure us. But I've had people say, so how many thousands do you want? And I tell them, I don't. And they're like, bleh, bleh, bleh. And I say, for me, it is still about knowing this person has this diagnosis and I need to reach out to them to see how they're doing today. And this person has this, and you kind of reach that critical mass type of, where you just can't keep track of people anymore. Now, maybe that means you bring on other people. I mean, but yeah, for me to serve who I want to serve, it's got to stay small. And I'm perfectly fine with that. It doesn't need to hit, lots and lots of people. Now, out of those 200 and some people, the majority, just like with everything, are not active. I mean, active as in commenting and things like that.
Right.
Now, are they lurking? Yes. And because every once in a while they'll pop in, right? And you're like, oh, there you are. But yeah, to me, it is about being able to stay small and keep it manageable.
Well, it's your way of being of service
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
to 200-ish people plus their loved ones,
right,
in a way that smooths your heart, makes you happy.
Right.
It's a beautiful.
Yeah. And if I had more, I'd start getting all stressed. Thinking, oh my gosh, what am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting? All of those things.
But you made a good point. What happens is when somebody says, yeah, this is a great idea, or you should make it thousands.
Mm-hmm.
What happens are for those people, this is not you, Deb, for those people who don't know who they are, they don't know their heart. They don't know that they're already living in the place they want to live. And they go, yeah, okay. And then they start moving in that direction.
Right. Yeah. And for me, that's part of the cookie cutter marketing of who is your target audience, and it is not the world, it is this very small group. And I don't care if you're Walmart or, everybody has their target, or you should have your target audience. And sometimes that's 10 people, right? But if they're the right 10 people, that's what rocks.
I am going to update your CPOP.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to make it 6 words. So they'll both be 6 words.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make it 250 scared cancer patients addressing fear.
Yep. Yeah, because
But
then
it is, yeah,
yeah,
it's a good
and
mindset.
it is, and it is a wonderful mindset because it works for me. Somebody else might need 500. They might need 1,000. They might need whatever, but that's not me. So yeah, I love that. 250, and we hit 250, and then it's like, okay, now
Oh, you can
what?
always, yeah,
Yeah,
you can always
right.
change if it's
Yeah.
still working for
Mm-hmm,
you. Like
mm-hmm,
that's remember the
mm-hmm,
CPOP is
mm-hmm,
how you're executing on
mm-hmm,
your purpose today.
mm-hmm,
What's interesting is, and this from a passion project,
mm-hmm,
this will allow the person who says they may not even ask you the question,
mm-hmm,
why shouldn't it be a couple thousand?
mm-hmm,
Right? Or if they ask that
right.
question, this is why it's
Mm-hmm,
250, right?
mm-hmm,
But it makes it very clear the playground you're playing
mm-hmm,
in.
right. Right. Back to that clarity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the other thing that you talk a lot about, and this all ties in, is still being relevant. And I think that's where people get lost also. So, tell us a little bit more about that. And feel free. I mean, if you want, use me as an example. But yeah, how do we get relevant and then stay relevant?
It's a really amazingly good question for maybe reasons you don't even understand, but but thank you for asking. So maybe of course you do understand and I didn't. So if you are a credible human, you are a servant leader, you are a service to others. So the question is who?
Mm-hmm.
Now, many people go through life and who they serve is whatever their job, not their business,
Right.
but whoever their
Mm-hmm.
job is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden they retire to do something else. And without realizing it, they no longer are relevant because they no longer have an audience to serve.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you've always heard the husband or wife who's the A driver who then drives their spouse nuts
Mm-hmm.
because
Right.
right. You've heard
Mm-hmm.
those stories.
Mm-hmm.
So what's interesting is being relevant is an interesting expression. It's sort of like being a quote unquote thought leader,
Mm-hmm.
right? To me, my definition of thought leader
Mm-hmm.
is one or more people are listening to your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
One or more people.
Mm-hmm.
In your case, 200 at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
scared cancer patients.
Mm-hmm.
You are a thought leader to that
Mm-hmm.
community.
Mm-hmm.
You are relevant to that community.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
If it turned out that that community was 1,000, you would get it would not be as much fun for you.
Mm-hmm.
B, you may not be as relevant because you couldn't do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't reach out and touch them when
Right.
they have their next treatment or other
Mm-hmm.
things going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So clarity is understanding how you're executing on your purpose with such consistency, such clarity shouldn't have been the right word. Maybe I use the word credibility, but credibility is understanding how you're serving
Mm-hmm.
in such a way that you make it easy to be relevant to the audience that you're there to serve.
Ah, okay. It's
It
just
really is
right.
okay to
Mm-hmm.
make something easy. It
Mm-hmm.
really is okay to live your life. If you got your financial stuff covered,
Mm-hmm.
it really is okay to say, hey, I'm going to serve 200 people the rest of my
Mm-hmm.
life. And some people will leave and some people will
Mm-hmm.
come and
Right.
that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes you relevant to that
Mm-hmm.
group.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not taught the simplicity of being able to carve our market for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
where we know who we're serving,
Mm-hmm.
we know how we're serving. And by
Mm-hmm.
the way, that changes over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because how you would serve somebody with words will change post 2023 and GPT coming around
Mm-hmm.
than how you serve people with words now. That's
Right.
any
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
thing
most
with
definitely.
words,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so how you serve will be different,
Mm-hmm.
but the who and the pain point or pleasure
Mm-hmm.
point, and that might change also, but that changes,
Mm-hmm.
right? That just
Mm-hmm.
anyhow, that's what
Right.
so relevance is not something I spend enough time talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And by you encouraging me to bring this into the conversation, it is a word that I do need to spend more time on. So I'm just going to say thank you.
You're welcome. And I wonder how many people are afraid of being irrelevant, not relevant. And I think that might be one of the things is, and so we put ourselves in positions that maybe we're not comfortable in because we want to be relevant.
Yes, I'm going to say yes, and we also make assumptions about our relevancy being valid. And in some cases, I'll give you an example. One of my clients ran and had $1 billion spending budget. So as you can imagine, he was very relevant.
Right.
He would speak and people would say,
yes, sir.
yeah, exactly. I tried to convince him that a lot of that relevancy, a lot of that credibility is because he's spending $1 billion.
Right. It's kind of the Elon Musk thing. Do people really care what he says?
That's another conversation. That's a lot. So what's interesting though is that person's relevancy when he left and did not no longer have that $1 billion.
Right. Yeah. Then
Not
who
the
was
same.
he?
And who was he? And can he still borrow the favors and still do people say yes, sir? And the answer in many cases it was no. And that was quite depressing. And so a lot of times we go through life with a expectation of our relevancy being there forever.
Right.
And once again, it comes down to the clarity of who you're serving. Who you're serving and what are the ramifications of that serving. If you're serving a large company and you have $1 billion budget, you are definitely relevant. When you take away the serving that and you're serving something else, if you're just serving yourself and you don't have $1 billion budget, you're not as relevant.
Right. Right.
That's okay as long as you recognize that and who you're going to be afterwards.
Right. Well, now I'm going to give you a different word. And this word is particularly important to me today because I went to a funeral earlier today. I think that it was the second person I made contact with from a business perspective here in Atlanta. I had reached out to him on LinkedIn before we moved. This was a planned move. We knew this was happening. And he said, as soon as you get here, let me know and we'll get together. And then he introduced me around. I mean, this was just this absolutely phenomenal man. And he passed away very suddenly. And his service was today. And the word that I keep thinking about is legacy. His legacy is helping others. His faith and his family were, the most paramount to him. But then how could he be of service to others? And he knew, he had his clarity. He had all of that down. And because of that, he has a wonderful legacy.
Nice. I'm going to do a slight difference of the definition of the word legacy.
Okay.
And I had done a ebook 8, 9, 10 years ago, and I interviewed a number of experts, i.e. people who appeared to have long-term legacy, and they shocked me to give me a definition. So Jeffrey Hazard was one, Marshall Goldsmith was another, and a bunch of others. And I was shocked to get a common answer that legacy is how people think about you when you're not in the room.
Right.
How people think about you when you're not in the room today. What do people say? What do they talk about?
Okay.
Right? Because it's not about 1,000 years from now. Who cares? 100 years from now, technically, who cares? Once you're dead, technically, who cares?
Right.
Right? So legacy is, what do people say? If you're a boss, what do your employees' family talk about at dinner? That's your legacy.
Right.
All right. So it changes everything. It allows you to be significantly more relevant in a positive way. If you recognize that your legacy today is how people are talking about you, how they feel about you, how they act, who they are, how they grow when you're not in a room.
Right. And let's be honest, we want them to be doing that obviously before we pass away, right? It's nice to have when
I said the words,
right.
What do they think about you not in a room? When you're not in a room.
Yes, now.
Like Deb, when we're done with the conversation, you start thinking about your CPOPs, what are you going to be thinking about Mitchell tonight or tomorrow or next time you talk to Josh? What are you going to be thinking about Mitchell? That's my legacy.
Yes. Yeah. And I think maybe that sometimes people get too concerned about what their legacy is after they pass. As opposed to when I walk out of the room, what are people going to say? Oh my gosh, Mitchell, this has just been so much fun. We got to do this more than every 4 years. This is just the silliest thing in the world. But I know that people are saying, I need to know more. I need to do a clarity session. I need to know more about how I find what my CPOP is, all of these things. How do they find you?
The best way is just go to my website. So it's mitchelllevy.com. So MITCHELLLEVY. So 3 L's in a row.com. And there it will point you to some of the projects I have going on, things that are going. There are things you can do without being in a room. So we have a community you can go to. And if you want, Deb, I will share I'll share one gift with your audience.
Oh, lovely.
There is a community I created where one of the courses in the community that's currently complimentary is something that will allow you to get clarity on every interaction you have.
Ooh.
Called the input-output model. My team says it's a 17-minute course. The actual video itself is 6 minutes. So maybe it takes 17 minutes to go through all that. And the community is called the Clarity Superheroes community. And it lists the other things. So I'll just say, if you're listening to this, it goes to ahadapub/superheroes.
Cool.
And it is currently a complimentary community. It also will point to the clarity sessions and other things. But feel free to go. I've been using that model, the input-output model. I've been using that model since college. And it's helped affect every decision I make. I didn't realize what it was doing is just giving me clarity.
I love it. So cool. So cool. Well, this really has been just a delight. And more importantly, you've made me think. You have really made me think about what do I need to work on. And that's okay, right? Because we should always be a work in progress. And you and I are going to have further chats. But and we will have you back on long before 4 years from now, because who knows what the heck 4 years. I mean, right? That's oh my gosh. But I always like to ask my guests, what final thought would you like to leave everyone with?
This is not a pie in the sky conversation. You too can so simply start changing who you are and how you show up in the world by doing nothing more than recognizing how you are executing on your purpose. And it's really that simple. And I believe not just do you owe it for yourself, but you owe it for those around you, because you're going to show up as a different human, one which they will go, wow, I see the change and I like it.
Oh, such wise words, such wise words. Well, I am Deb Creer. I have been having so much fun talking again with Mitchell Levy. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Take care, everyone.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.